What do you guys see? Come on, tell me what you see. What do you see? All right, okay. There's a little bit of damage from the winter. Not much. But I do see a bunch of new buds come in. New buds. Everybody likes buds. All right, so what I see, oh look, here's a little more. This whole mango thing's a big experiment, right? Well, we're in Richmond. It's February 20th. We're pretty much done with winter. Just about. Texas isn't. Oh boy. Anyway, see those buds? This thing's waking up. So that's your mango right there. What's interesting, this is a 24-inch mango, and it looks great. It looks really, really good. After spending winter up here, all these plants would rather be in the ground. This is in a container. When it's in the ground, the roots don't get as cold. Tree does better, more vigorous, everything much better about it. But the thing that I did notice, I don't even want to show you our 15-gallon little ones. We had some little ones, 15-gallon, and they were like over there. Anyway, they look terrible. They have a bunch of like fungus on them and stuff, and it's kind of normal a little bit, the mangoes. Even in Florida, they get it, and they just say in the spring you're supposed to cut it off. So whatever. You could probably dust it with anti-fungicide. But I kind of want to see how these things perform without doing anything to them. But what I've learned about these mangoes, that's right, I can teletransport between locations in my nursery just at a drop of a hat. Anyway, what I've learned about these trees, though, is it seems like the bigger ones just fare so much better. You can see the little bit of growth on the top. It's all wanky. It's not happy. But look at all the beautiful, more mature growth down below. It's totally fine. Here's some new growth that looks really good. This is a tree in our demonstration garden, and it's behaving a lot like the tree in the box. It even has fruit. See the fruit? Look at the fruit. Look at the little fruit. Those are awfully little mangoes. But anyway, it's pretty remarkable that they're there in the middle of winter. And you can see more like all the young stems. I think that's from this little bit of fungus that they talk about. I need to look it up and learn more about that. But anyway, I'm sure this thing's going to bud out. It's going to be great. It's going to be happy. In fact, here's some buds already going right there. It's going to start pushing. Now, let me show you the difference with the little babies. The little babies are not happy. They're not happy at all. So, if you buy a baby, you better put it in a hot, reflective spot, because it's not going to be as hardy as the parents. What happens if you take a little newborn baby and you lay it on the beach on a 100-degree day? Probably nothing good. Or conversely, you take that same baby and you put it like on a sheet of snow in the Sierra just for one night. Probably nothing good. If you take a big old burly guy like me with a bunch of biomass, probably more biomass than I really need or is good for me, and you lay me on the beach, 100 degrees, I might get a little sunburn, that's about it. You lay me on the snow, I'll probably shiver and complain a lot. But that's about it. That's the difference between a baby and a, fully grown, hairy beast like me. Same thing goes with mangoes. Really big mama, probably be all right. You take the babies out, they're going to be a different story. Here's the babies. Look at the babies. They're upset. Look how upset they are. So this is a bit of an experiment. I think what's going to happen is, so we moved them over here. Look at all this reflected sun. We have a roof here. We have all this asphalt. It's south facing. You got the windows for reflection. This is mango country. In fact, what I really should do is pull my plumeria out of these planters here and then plant mangoes in there, because that'll block the windows and everything. But anyway, they're going to be so happy here. We should have done this earlier in the season. But these things, like, they really did not, they weren't happy. They weren't happy at all. Look at the difference. between the boxed specimen and the in-ground big specimen and these guys. So we're going to follow up and see what happens to these guys. And I think they're going to be okay. You know, the more mature lower leaves seem to be faring much better. I'll probably have to prune them back a little bit, and invariably we'll get some sprouts, and they will recover. But this is the first year we had mangoes in the nursery all year long, and we are in a non-beneficial area. Richmond is a fog belt. The ocean's right over there. We have high humidity. We have cooler temperatures. Everything the mangoes hate, but they're still growing. At least the big ones, the 24-inch box, and the one on the ground. Now, what's the moral of the story? Well, the moral of the story is that maybe your strategy, it's kind of like avocados too. You really want to get the biggest plant possible. We stopped selling 5-gallon avocados because we had so many problems with people freaking out and coming back and going, well, they were freaking out, but the plants were freaking out worse. They were dying. And so now we sell these big old, really hardened off 15-gallon plants that are really tough. And we have hardly any callbacks at all. Look at this. There's a reed right there. Super happy. This looks like a lamb. No, that's just a Haas. Buds. More buds. Lots of buds. It's the time of year for buds. But anyway, yeah, we had lots of problems with these little 5-gallon avocados when we first started selling them. So we realized pretty quick that, and it makes sense. And I kind of knew that intuitively. But everybody only wants to spend like $50 to get an avocado tree. But buy one of those things, chances are it's going to linger and not succeed. The bigger ones have a much higher success rate, and they're going to get you to many avocados faster. Same thing goes with the mangoes. And with the mangoes, I think it's even more critical because, as you can see, the big ones are just totally fine and happy, and the little ones are extremely upset. So don't think I'm making it up to sell big mangoes, because oftentimes I can't even get the big ones. All I can get are the little ones. And so, but I do have a whole batch of these at my nursery down in San Diego, and they're looking fantastic. So we'll probably bring those up for sale pretty soon here. But we do want to have this fun experiment and see what happens here. It's going to be interesting. Like I said, I want to do nothing and do a semi-controlled experiment here, because ultimately these plants have to be left on their own, and we want to see what happens in that sort of scenario. And that's pretty much all I know. Thanks for watching the show. And more importantly, if you ever come down here and buy a plant, thanks for doing that, because that helps pay the water bill. And this plant here is going to be extremely upset if I can't pay the water bill. Okay, tell me what you see. What do you see? Come on. Yeah, that's right. Like pretty much near perfect mango foliage in February. There's a little tiny bit of discoloration on some of these things, like right there. But for the most part, this tree is just thriving here. It doesn't have any of those fungal issues that we have down in Richmond. So what does that tell you? What it tells you is that you need to be more like here if you're gonna be really successful. Well, I don't know, somebody will prove me wrong. They'll plant a tree in San Francisco with no heat reflection or anything, and they'll get mangoes on it. And they'll say, I told you, Gary. I say, well, you just gotta play the odds, When you have a pinch hit situation, you wanna get the guy that has the highest likelihood of getting a hit. Whatever guy that is in the dugout, you play the odds. Same thing with the mangoes here. You gotta play the odds. So you wanna get these things into the hottest locations possible. You want to get it farther inland you go, generally the hotter it gets. The mango loves that, but generally the colder it gets in winter, for winter lows, the mango don't like that. So how do you mitigate that? You want to get as much heat as possible. If you're on the coast, you got to put it next to a hot wall. And if you're inland, you need to put it next to a south-facing west wall anyway, because in the wintertime, that will create a microclimate to keep the thing warm, keep the mold off of it, or the fungus. Seems like the fungus is the biggest problem. Anyway, lower humidity, always better for this tree, it seems like. And yeah, so either way, if you're inland or on the coast, just give this thing as much heat as possible, put it in a hot, sunny wall. And I think the people inland are going to have more chances of success as long as they don't drop below 28 degrees when it's little and 25 degrees when it's big. Get it in the best microclimate possible. And hopefully we'll get some fruit on this thing this year. I think it's like a shade tree now. Look at this. Woo-hoo! Some shade on the deck from a mango tree. A mango tree. Yeah, right. So anyway, hopefully it will not meet the fate of this guy anytime soon. Don't mind the screaming. I think they're just having fun over there in the park while I wait patiently for my toolboxes to be welded onto my truck. If you ever need welding services done, behind those trees right over there is my buddy's welding shop. And that's called Benny's. Benny's? Is it Benny's Welding? No, sorry. This is so bad. It's Jim. No, that's not. This is his first name. I forget his last name. Jim's Welding over there. Anyway, he's the only welding shop in Vacaville. So there you go. And apparently it is now 1 o'clock, and I'm going to teach you about what I just learned about this fungus on the mangoes, and I thought it was anthracnose, not to be confused with anthrax, and it is, but I was afraid to say it on camera because I didn't want to look stupid and be wrong, because I've done that before. And when you're on the internet and YouTube, people will especially let you know. Got to keep you straight. Anyway, anthracnose is a fungus, and like I said, it's caused by cooler. Just one bell. It's 1 o'clock. Oh no, it must be 2 o'clock. And anyway, yeah, it's caused by cooler weather, rain, splashing around. They say it's good with mangoes. It's counterintuitive. Avocados love to have their own mulch under the trees. They say to clean up everything under your mango trees because it can further the pathogen. And it can be treated with copper fungicide like most other funguses. So I think it would be good to do a preventative repetitively. I try to use nothing on any of my plants because I kind of, why use something if you don't have to? But in this case, we're really pushing this tree to the very limit of its abilities to survive up here in Northern California. We should give it the best chances possible. So you might want to spray them down. I think really we're only talking about like November, right by the airport. November, December, January, March, April. I bet if you sprayed them down like once a month, then you probably would be fine. And ideally, if you put them in a really hot spot, the anthracnose will cook off the tree, like the tree that I showed you up at my ranch in winters. It's so hot and so dry there that it just doesn't affect it. Whereas at Richmond, where it's foggier, cooler, higher humidity, lower temperatures, that's where you're going to have that problem more often. So I just did a little reading on the internet just to confirm what I thought, and that's pretty much what I thought, and that's what the science tells me. And also, I think in springtime, you want to cut off all infected parts using sterile pruning equipment, and be very careful about moving from tree to tree after you do that. That's true with any trees that you're cutting dead, seemingly diseased, possibly diseased material out of plants. So that's it. Hopefully my truck will be done soon so I can get back on my way.